You are listening to News Talk 790 WPIC, Sharon Hermitage, a Cumulus station, sponsored by the Ridgewood at Shenango Valley, a premier senior living residence.
Outing emails willing to leave the nuclear deal. I'm Molly Page. A colleague from Hillary Clinton's Senate day says she should fully explain her actions involving the use of private, non-government emails while she was Secretary of State. Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein says she thinks that from this point on, the silence is going to hurt her.
What has to happen is it has to be cleared up in a specific legal policy because different secretaries of state have done different things.
Feinstein speaking on NBC's Meet the Press. President Obama says that the United States would walk away from nuclear talks with Iran if there's no acceptable deal.
If we cannot verify that they are not going to obtain a nuclear weapon, that there's a breakout period so that even if they cheated, we would be able to have enough time to take action. If we don't have that kind of deal, then we're not going to take it.
Mr. Obama speaking on CBS's Face the Nation. I'm Molly Page. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu continues to insist he knows what's in the treaty with Iran, telling CBS's Face the Nation.
The current proposal, as I understand it, enables Iran to have a vast nuclear infrastructure, which means a very short breakout time to the bomb. And secondly, it lifts the restrictions after a decade. It just lifts all the restrictions on Iran, and it could have an arsenal of many, many nuclear bombs.
Nigeria's terror group Boko Haram is pledging to join forces with the Islamic State. The announcement's believed to be a strategic move against al-Qaeda. Correspondent Nima Elbegir reports the new alliance could have big implications.
For ISIS, this also is an opportunity to strike a blow against al-Qaeda and show that it has sustained a much deeper international presence than al-Qaeda has at the moment.
Boko Haram responsible for kidnapping hundreds of schoolgirls and slaughtering villages. I'm Molly Page.
This is a special announcement for all Americans who owe back taxes to the IRS or state. Pay attention. There is a special toll-free hotline set up especially for you. This hotline will give you free information on how you can legally reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call the Consumer Tax Hotline today at 1-800-282-6441. Grab a pen or put the number in your cell phone, but call 1-800-282-6441. When you call, you will speak with qualified companies that will tell you how to stop the collection calls, IRS letters, bank levies, and wage garnishments. Plus, these companies will deal directly with the IRS on your behalf, so you won't have to. Even if you haven't filed returns or you're already in a payment plan, you can still get relief. The current government administration is very amicable and wants to work out a program in your best interest, but this won't last forever, and your tax problem only gets worse if you do nothing or try to handle it yourself. It does make a big difference in who you call, so call the Consumer Tax Hotline today for free information. 1-800-282-6441. That's 1-800-282-6441.
A new survey from Go Banking Rate says California is the worst state in America if you want to save money. Correspondent John Stolnis has more.
California has 9 of the 10 worst cities in America in which to save money. Only New York City ranks in the top 10 outside of California at number 4. Topping the list is San Francisco, with Los Angeles at 2 and Irvine at number 3. Oakland comes in at number 5. The best cities in which to save money, Portland, Oregon is number 1, with Anchorage, Alaska number 2 and Lincoln, Nebraska at number 3. Boise, Idaho and Madison, Wisconsin round out the top 5. 5 Midwest cities are in the top 10, including Omaha, Wichita, Arlington, Texas, and Corpus Christi. I'm John Stolnis.
Taylor Swift, President Obama, Beyonce, and Justin Bieber are among the 30 unranked lists of Time magazine's most influential people on the web. The list measures the biggest web attractions based on social following, site traffic, and knack for driving news. I'm Molly Page.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
All doctors to the ER. All nurses to the nurses station. Code blue 305.
continue tonight in Maryville.
Apartments, you can see this evacuation notice on one door.
Rolling, motion, roll sound, and action.
Ladies and gentlemen, City of Ohio, we are here
just
in
type
the
job website address here.
We are here in the oh my God. We are here in the Media8tor. You're with Brian West. We have our guest from the Youngstown Playhouse. I do apologize for the little difficulties there. We have my man Joe and my man Bernie, and we got my lovely assistant, Miss Alicia Sparks, with us. We are going to be talking about the Youngstown Playhouse tonight. When we come back from this break, we're going to talk to them about the productivity in the city of Youngstown, what the Playhouse has been doing, how long they've been around, the effect they have on the city, and what their future plans are. And this is the new age of theater. That's what we're going to talk about here in the Media8tor today. Quick commercial break. We'll be right back. You're in the Media8tor with me, Brian West, Alicia Spark, and the guest from the Youngstown Playhouse. Johnny wants to be a performer, and everybody knows school costs money. Johnny wants to know what he has to do to become a performer. Plus, he needs experience before he decides to spend the money for school. Johnny's confused. He has no one to talk to about his choices. He then hears an ad on the radio about Media8tor Arts Academy, where he can perform, network, train, and find a place to prepare for school. Johnny has found a place to expand his talents to make his decision and also increase his resume. Now, let's explain how Johnny got signed up. He went online to Media8inc.com and clicked on register. They called him back, asked him what his vision was, then found a place for him to perform. Whether it's theater, music, or movies, as long as Johnny is willing, Media8inc.com is able. And that's the story of how Johnny became a performer through Media8 Arts Academy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, first show we'll be fine. Let's just get into the conversation, gentlemen. All right, Bernie, so we'll start with you first, Bernie. Now, the Playhouse has been around for how long now?
90 years.
90 years.
90 years this year. It's our 90th anniversary.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Wow, this is a special show. So tell us a little bit about the Playhouse and things like that.
Well, to talk about the 90 years, you should probably ask Joe, because he's, 99? So the Playhouse was... You're welcome, because you look 100. The Playhouse was around, obviously, a long time before I discovered it. But I am from the south side of Youngstown.
Yeah.
It was a couple of blocks from my house. It was a bike ride away. It was a place that I was allowed to hang out and be myself. I have an elder sister who is... a very, very talented actress and director, and she got her start there before going on to New York. So she kind of brought me there, and I just learned about it as I lived there, and that was 1975. So it shows you how old I am. And in 1927, a group of really smart people came together and created the Youngstown Players.
Yeah.
And it started on the north side of Youngstown, near the university, on property that has now become university property. And then it moved to a bigger location.
Yeah.
On Market Street, which that location is gone as well. Correct, Joe?
Yeah,
on
that's
Lower
right.
Market Street?
Yeah, it was an old movie house on corner of Market and Dellison, but the building is no longer there.
Now this is the city of Youngstown you're talking about. A lot of people think Youngstown is like is pretty much what they call abandoned from the steel mill. So you're saying that these buildings are still there?
The theater, our theater is still there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, once it went from Market Street, then that's when they built the current location now on Glenwood Avenue. Was built in the 50s?
59, it was finished. Yeah. They started fundraising in 57, and it took about $350,000, which in 1957 was a lot of money.
Yeah.
Now, to recreate the structure and the building the beautiful building that we have on Glenwood Avenue would be 10 times as much.
Yeah.
It was finished in 59, and changes have been made through the last 60 years that it's been there.
Yeah.
It's additions, some subtractions, which we're not happy about.
Yeah.
But we have 600 seats in a beautiful auditorium. It was designed by architects that designed theaters in New York. So it wasn't it was created to be the theater that it is.
Well, the design looks pretty good. Now, Sparks, you did a few plays down there, didn't you? How was it like for you guys?
I've done quite a few performances there.
And, you know, coming from the Valley within this area, I found it to be very educational. I found it to be very historical.
Yeah.
You know, once you start to venture outside of Ohio and see things that, you know, are very different in different cultures and different areas, it makes you really appreciate home and the vintage and the remarkable people that bring it together and make it for what it is.
Yeah.
It definitely is a basis and a backbone to who I am.
Yeah.
It definitely inspired me to want to go on and do more and do bigger, even outside of Ohio.
Yeah.
So it also does, you know.
I mean, it works wonders, you know, because Youngstown has come, I believe, I've always called it the city of hope because the people in Youngstown always have this look on their face like they're just waiting for something great to happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like
That's a beautiful way to put it. I got to tell you, Brian.
No, I mean, everybody in Youngstown, everybody has heard about Youngstown, and when they come there, they're like, and then they see the city, they're like, this is the city we heard about.
Yeah.
And this is like they go downtown because, you know, you go to cities like Chicago, you go to New York, everybody's always alive. Everybody's always alive. And then when Youngstown gets to that little bit of feeling, sometimes you get a little bit of complaint. So now, do you think the Playhouse can provide that atmosphere for, I mean, just the future of just arts in general? I'll ask you over here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Playhouse, over the last several years, we've tried to recreate some of the magic of it. It's more of an atmosphere when you go to the show.
Right. Yeah.
So you try to create that entire ambiance of the whole show and the whole process itself. And as you see, we've seen over the last year, every show has gotten bigger. We've gotten more audiences. We've gotten, the best thing about it is we've gotten new audiences.
That's amazing.
And that's the best part. You see, because just exposing people to live performances. We were talking earlier today about, you know, kids on YouTube, social media. Everything is so impersonal.
Yeah.
The effect that an audience collectively having the same kind of feeling together, 500 people feeling the same thing, being moved the same way, there's nothing like that palpability of that being right there in the moment.
Yeah.
So, and I believe that pendulum swings back and forth, man. What they used to do in the past, and all of a sudden it doesn't happen,
And then
that personal stuff's going to come back in, and then you want to be there to be leading the forefront. And that's why getting shows that are fresh off Broadway.
Yes.
We actually were trying to do, we were just in the process of trying to set our season, and we were trying to do Misery.
Yeah.
Well, then all of a sudden it gets blocked. We go, they can't do it. It's been shelved for the year. And then we find out a week later, Bruce Willis is doing it on Broadway. So that's why none of the other. So we were on the idea right before. So now, okay, do it on Broadway. And then all of a sudden, once they have it,
you let it happen.
Great. Then we'll do it again right as soon as it closes.
And we ride the wave.
Yes.
We ride that wave.
Yes.
Right. I mean, whether we were saying in the car, I hope it's a success on Broadway.
Yes. Heck yeah.
I hope Bruce Willis
we can
gets
do it.
what he deserves as an actor.
Yes.
But good or bad, Misery in people's vernacular again.
Yeah.
That's all it
takes.
Yeah. Now, Joe, you've been directing for quite a while. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Joe.
Okay, first I want to comment on something that John just mentioned. He used the word the swinging back and forth.
Pendulum.
Yeah.
The pendulum swinging back and forth.
He talked about the pendulum, and it made me think about the times when I first started at the Playhouse.
Yeah.
I first showed up there in the fall of 1958.
Yeah.
I auditioned for a show, and a wonderful, wonderful human being, Jim Cameron, was the managing director at the time, and he cast me. He was a father figure for me.
Yeah.
I got in that show, but it was the last show at the old Playhouse, the one we mentioned before on Market Street. That was in September. In January of '59, we opened this new building.
Yes.
Everybody that was ever on the stage at the old Playhouse, we call it that, the old Playhouse, were invited to be in the first show of
The new
play. That's right. I said, well, how are we going to do this? There's no such show with over 100 people.
Right.
So they decided to do a musical review. Everything was on the stage.
Wow.
There were jugglers, there were dancers, comics, and
You name it.
Short scenes, long scenes. And it was ended with a faux opera.
Wow. Now, sports.
And everybody was in that. But about this pendulum thing, the audiences, here's the pendulum.
Yes.
The audiences in those days, first of all, they were always filled.
Yeah.
Second, they were always in suits and ties.
Yes, they were dressed.
And
So you think times have changed?
the ladies were dressed up, and it was an evening out. You go dinner first, and then you come here. And it got to be so much that one of the directors or the executive directors eventually had to build a balcony. And to add,
I seen the balcony. That's nice.
That was not part of the original structure.
Wow.
As we went along, and slowly I noticed that there are fewer people coming, and fewer.
Yeah.
You know, now what John said is correct. Now it is swinging. Now we're starting to see more coming and more coming. And hopefully it gets back to what happened to our thinking over the years that live theater was exciting, and then at some point live theater was no longer exciting.
I think
What's
people
going
today,
on?
you have DirecTV and you have HBO on demand. You have if I want to see Willy Wonka, I could see Willy Wonka once a year when I was a kid, and now I can watch it daily if I wanted to.
That's right.
So what happens is you lose. All of a sudden you can get it whenever you want.
Right.
So why get dressed, go out, go to dinner, drive somewhere, see your.
Now,
it's the age of immediacy. You want it immediately, and now it's switching.
I think the same thing happens to audiences that happen to actors. We say as actors when we're young and starting out, I don't want a dime for this. This is the greatest job in the world.
Hungry.
And then you get popular.
Yes.
You get maybe some people get a little famous.
Get a little money.
You get in demand.
Yes.
And then it's, well, how much are you going to pay me to play that part?
Now, Sparks.
And so you're not.
You be around a lot of. She's around a lot of entertainers in the industry. So tell us the culture. Is there a separation you're talking about, Bernie?
Well, what I was going to say was the same thing happens for the audience as ticket prices go up.
Yes.
And as helicopters are now part of Miss Saigon.
Exactly. I need to see.
You go, well, if I'm going to pay $18 for a show, I better get a monkey flying a helicopter in the middle of a musical number.
Yeah.
And if they don't give you that, if they just give you lights up and someone improv dancing, you go, I'm not coming to that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So it happens to the actors, but it also happens to the audience. We start giving them, they're going to want to see the misery that's the movie, unfortunately.
I think that's nice.
That's scary.
That'd be nice.
They're going to want to see the things that they want to see the chandelier fall on the Phantom Connection. So you have to find a way to give them what they want, but remind them that there are, I even hate to use the word limitations, because as a performer my whole life, as part of, and these two will totally understand, I'm sure you will, I never used the word limitations.
No, you can't.
I think my imagination is bigger now than it was when I was 5 years old.
Agreed.
So I said, we'll make it happen. You want it to look like a helicopter? We'll make it
happen.
So to let you finish, that it happened to the audiences too. That's why I think some of them, the numbers have gone down. They want more.
I applaud the Playhouse, and the thing is like me and Sparks are from we're like the '80s generation, you know. So in our generation, I think that was like the age where everybody was just getting off drugs and they were good.
Agreed.
So me and Sparks,
are you still off of them?
I think that as we did state before earlier, it's just a desensitization. Everybody's desensitized, and when you have everything that is just flashing in front of your face all of the time, it's at your fingertips. It's on your phone. It's on your iPad. It's on your computer. I mean, it's everywhere. It's almost to a point where it's in your windshield of your car. You know, it's almost inescapable unless you're one that's really, really truthfully passionate about the arts and you want to stay dedicated to what the origin of everything that has come around and everything that has built us to be where we are at this point.
That's right.
I think it's just this generation has just been brainwashed. I think the way that they're going about bringing things back, even with Cinderella's getting ready to come back out in theaters. They've revamped that. They've revamped Snow White.
They're just bringing back a lot of old stuff.
They're doing it in a totally different light so that you can go back and reappreciate where it did originate.
But let's talk about that now, Bernie. Now I'll let all you get in on this one. Now you guys were talking about the originals that you allow the community to put on original plays. Now, people don't know Youngstown has a lot of talent.
Oh, definitely.
A lot of talent writers.
The amount of writers in Youngstown, Ohio, whether it's movies, plays, music, blows my mind.
And nobody.
Blows my mind.
Yes. So do you think now? This is amazing. Now, Joe, I'll let you get this one. Okay. Now, California, everybody says that Youngstown Knights, I like to call them Youngstown Knights.
Nice.
They leave the area and go out and be great somewhere else, but they don't want to be great within their own city. What do you, and now, Joe, you've chose to be great in Youngstown. I've seen this man direct. He's a maniac.
Yes, he is. I've directed me many. Just ask him; he'll tell you too.
In a great way.
Yeah. Are you listening to
Here
this,
we
Joanne?
Joe's he gets he's all fired up, and I'm feeling his energy.
Yeah, you're there.
Yeah, because I'm like, let me get in somebody's face. Yeah.
He gives me hope to age, is what he does.
Yes.
He was the first great director I had doing shows, and
Right.
I learned everything. You learn so much by doing a show with him.
Yeah.
But then you also learn that appreciation of the writing, the appreciation of the
Yes.
movement, the appreciation of why you're in this position on stage. You learn all these things in a show. The making of the show, as you're learning right now, I think that tying together the show, the whole process of it, that's the fun part.
Yeah. It is.
That's
It
the
is.
journey. That's the whole putting the show on for the audience to show them what you've all done collectively.
Yeah.
Right.
But the journey,
That's
that
priceless.
rehearsal period, that's the best, and you need a good guy running the ship.
And I was at a musical last night. It was at the Fairview.
Fairview Center.
And Struthers. And I've never really been into musicals, and they did. I've never been a big fan
Leap
of
of Faith.
Leap of Faith. But I was impressed because the chemistry, they said the play magic, the theater magic, you know.
Right.
Yes.
And I seen it come alive, and everybody's dancing around and all happy.
I
and,
have to have a shout out. The young boy that played the sheriff's son is my nephew.
Oh, really?
He is carrying on the let's not have any money but be really
Let's
talented
do it.
tradition.
Right.
Yeah, and let me add something to that. Not only is that boy Bernie's nephew, but that boy is the grandson of one of my best friends, Hugh Fagan. Huey, I'm thinking about you. He's
so
no
funny.
longer with us.
Well, he was walking across that stage. I thought he was sea walking there for a second. He got up out of the wheelchair. I'm not going to give the play away, but
No, it's funny. That's the age I was.
Yeah.
When I did my first main stage show at the Youngstown Playhouse.
Wow.
Directed by the 97-year-old Scarvell.
Oh, that was the first play you did?
Not that play, but I was that age.
Oh, wow.
When I
Isn't
made
that
my
something?
main
Isn't that something?
And you know what's kind of
directed by him.
too, that show he talked about when the new theater came up in the 59.
Yeah.
My uncle was in the show
Yes,
with
Ed.
him.
Look at that.
Ed Koch.
And I had, I mean, and
No
so
idea.
Ed
right.
Koch,
Right.
yeah.
And so
Yes.
it's the connections just stick together. That's
And I
that's
think
what
that's
love.
what makes, not to interrupt you, but I think that's what makes it so beautiful from where we are from. You know, people, like you were saying, people who might come to Youngstown and they might look around and they're like, wow, what is this? But what you just spoke and what you just said is something you rarely find in a California.
That's right,
you rarely find in a Florida.
It's such a transient atmosphere around those places that you don't have.
You don't have that.
Yeah.
That's a traditional bloodline that is created that
That's
cannot
right.
be broken, that is passed down through generation to generation. And I think, you know, with going from the old Playhouse to the new Playhouse, it is things of that nature that is very, very needed in order to keep the tradition alive.
It's the community theater for a reason. The
Yes.
community portion we've really tried to enter back in the last couple of years to involve more of the
Yeah.
community.
Yes.
Because a lot of our old businesses, a lot of the community businesses that were here in the past
Are not anymore.
Yes.
They're national corporations
Yes.
that don't
Yes.
put
It's
money
not
back
personal.
into. So
Yeah.
now we're hitting all those Youngstown companies that have been around for 50 years,
Now,
40 years.
now
And
let's talk about that a little bit. Real quick. Let me shout out my corporation real fast. I gotta get some tags. Method8inc.com. If you want to call in on the second half, you can call in. The number is 1-877-877-0228 if you have any questions for the men up here at the Playhouse or Men Sparks.
I know, please.
But let's talk about that a little bit. Like I said, you can view the show after a while on Method8inc.com. But the question is now, okay, corporations have come in. You talk about Hollywood. You talk about corporations. They have just pretty much drained the life out of the family atmosphere. You know, you've got. I love corporations. I think every corporation has its purpose, and they actually do a lot of good in the community. But like you're saying, like when you see that attendance at those theaters drop, you get this sense in your head like, oh my God, like I'm doing this. I'm putting my life. There are people in Youngstown who live at their theaters. I lived at mine for a little while, you know, and we're like sitting and we're waiting for the cash to drop, and it's like, nobody is investing. So when you see that, Bernie, and you know the potential that you have around you, the magic, the ability that arts can do in the lives of so many people, what it could do in the lives of kids,
absolutely,
and the change that it can make from just being an average performer to being on the big stage at the Playhouse. So tell us what you feel about that atmosphere now that you're talking about Hollywood and things like that.
Well, the first thing I'll address is back to what you were saying about Youngstown and businesses coming in. When there is a business that's not personally, or a person that's not personally invested in their own community because they live elsewhere or the money needs to go elsewhere, then they're not going to care as much about the community around them because it's not. But when you have people that are Youngstown, I call them. There's a Youngstown mentality.
Yes, that's right.
You know, and we're also seeing it in other realms. Look at Jim Tressel. There are many people out there in the community that are going questioning, from athletic director to coach to president of university.
Yeah.
Nobody in Youngstown doesn't care about that.
No.
Right. Youngstown goes, no, that's what we need. Youngstown needs somebody who cares about
the community.
Youngstown. The Playhouse needs people who are Youngstown and understand that Youngstown needs the Youngstown Playhouse.
What do you feel about that, Joe?
You know, I'm glad you asked me, because you asked me a question before and John jumped in.
Yeah, he did. I intercepted your pass.
I never.
It would be the last time that ever happened.
The mediator just took it.
I will never do the show again.
Wow. And I never had a chance to finish. You talked about the people that have left.
Yes.
I'm talking about performers who have left. Okay. Why did they leave? Is that a question? Yeah. Look, the community theater serves a purpose. Besides providing the entertainment that the people in the community need, it's almost like the beginning, the help me out with what's the right word? The starting
foundation.
The foundation. Thank you. That's right. Where people could get started who want to pursue a living, who want to pursue a career in these arts, and we've had a ton of them who started here and went off.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I could only mention a couple. I don't think I better mention anybody. But the ones that I grew up with, no, I didn't grow up. I was already 30 years old when I showed up at the Playhouse. But the ones that I started with, we just mentioned John's uncle, Ed, Ed Cox. So, well, he's still in town, but there are his friends and my friends. They're in films. They're in,
what films?
They're in, wait a minute. They're
that's all right.
Are you going to interrupt me?
You notice I haven't said a word.
I'm just trying to figure out. You know, I do films.
Wait. Am I beating this to death?
No, let finish.
They're in films. They're in television. They've been on Broadway. They're in universities teaching. What else? They're in community theaters making a living. When I first started off, I thought I'm going to head to New York City and make a name for myself.
Right.
Well, I met a little blonde.
See how that changed.
No. One day at the theater, Joanne Kaschak, she looked at me and she said,
Bless you.
Got your ticket.
So but we worked together professionally. But we wanted to have a family, and we said we're going to pursue our theater careers in education and in community theater. And there are careers in teaching of theater. It's just as exciting as being on Broadway.
I wanted to bring, because you're on the board, right?
Yes, I'm on the board.
Now this is a big issue right here. You talked about pay. Now Method 8, our actors, we pay our actors, but they have not, and this is amazing, and nobody knows this about entertainers. Nobody knows what they go through behind the scenes. And the life of an entertainer has always been brutal. It's almost been like a culture that everybody's playing with, but nobody knows what's actually going on behind the curtains.
Exactly.
So these actors are not making a lot of, actually for community theater, they don't even get paid.
No.
So that money and just the ability to be able to stay alive for so long, that's a big accomplishment, and nobody knows that.
No, we're the oldest community theater in the country.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
Concurrently, because of that.
We got a call. I got a call the other day from a woman in Harrisburg, PA.
Yes.
She runs the second oldest community theater in the country.
Yeah.
She called the Playhouse because she has been following their. They're going down.
Yeah.
But it happens.
Yes.
It's a cycle.
It's a cycle.
And she called to say, what did you do to turn the theater around?
Right.
Because we're celebrating our 90th next year.
Yeah.
And from what I can tell on the internet and on your website, things have turned around there.
Yeah.
And
I see it.
I basically just pointed her back toward the community.
Yep.
I said, the people are out there.
Yeah.
You can't go into community theater with I, me.
No. And you know what's
the word
amazing?
is we and us, or it ain't going to work.
Nope.
What else is amazing, Bernie, is I've looked into I did some research on Broadway, and they were having a lot of financial problems.
Absolutely.
They were not, and people are brutal.
Yes.
They are brutal, and they do not know what these guys. The thing is, when I came back into entertainment, it was I went from the fundamentalist church back into entertainment. So I was coming from two different ball fields.
Right.
And when I seen it, I'm like, these people are going through a lot. And then you can hear reverends say an entertainer is going to hell in a minute, but when you get into the atmosphere, it's like, wow, this is what heaven is like, because everybody's trying to keep things alive, you know.
That's right. There's a vitality with the performers. There's a vitality with, and it's like a group. It's like a band of gypsies.
Yeah.
You put a bunch of people on a wagon. You go from town to town to put on a show.
Yep.
He's in his 80s. We could hang out, and it's not a generational thing at that point.
Right.
You're just now you're an artist or you're an entertainer.
Yes.
And we all have separate jobs. I mean, daytime, I'm a pediatrician.
Yeah.
I do my job.
Oh, are you a pediatrician?
Yeah. I do my job during the day.
That's really cool.
That is.
I make enough time to go mess around at night.
He threw that in there like, I'm just a pediatrician by day.
Sparks, you teach kids how to dance, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, let me introduce everybody to Alicia Sparks. Alicia Sparks is a professional dancer. She's a professional makeup artist.
Yes.
And she is very certified.
Yes, I am. I'm certified in everything that I do.
I'm going to tell you what's funny, Sparks. I didn't tell you this on the way, but
what?
I don't use Facebook that often.
I know.
I mistakenly logged into my Facebook account. And Sparks is so into the arts that she is posting videos of herself dancing on Facebook. And I said, look at this girl. She's so excited about the arts.
And not even just on Facebook, but to take it to the next level, Instagram, which is like the new 15-second craze. I have such an international following based off of Instagram.
Yeah.
Just based off of these
videos.
It's
not because of your looks,
No, it's not.
Oh.
I don't think it has anything to do with that. No, just kidding.
You were jamming on there. Look at Sparks.
That's really my passion. That is my passion. And, me being a multifaceted, business owner and the person that I am, I absolutely have to say that dance and the arts is my absolute passion. Anyone who asks me, out of the several things that I do, it is something that I was born to do. I know it was something that I needed to do, regardless of if I'm getting paid or if I'm doing this or if I'm doing that. It's just when it's in you, no matter what genre of artistic form that you are doing. And no matter how you'll find time for it. You know what I mean? Especially being a pediatrician, there is not a lot of time.
Hey, being a dad and throwing a dad on top of it then.
Balancing life.
That's what was really cool, because we just did Christmas Carol.
I knew you did. I love it.
So I'm a ghost of Christmas Present.
Nice.
And my son is Ghost of Christmas Future. My other son is working. My other son's doing sound in the booth. And my other son is, he just likes to move stuff around.
But he's there.
He's working crew. Yeah, he doesn't want to do anything on stage.
Exactly.
And then my niece is in the show. So
right.
I have
family.
Then it's just passing it down. And using the community theater, like Joe said, as an educational tool.
Yes.
To teach kids, to give them another outlet.
Yes.
You learn how to be quiet.
Yep.
You learn how to wait your turn.
Yep.
You learn how to communicate and work as a team.
You learn how to listen.
Yes.
Well, you're a teacher, aren't you, Joe? Don't you still teach? Don't you still teach, Joe?
What's that? Yeah,
Tell us a little bit about.
I'm adjunct at the Westminster College.
Nice.
And I help out over here, right up the hill here from WPIC, Kennedy Catholic High School.
Nice.
I work there too.
Tell us a little bit about that. What do you? Are you inspired as a teacher, or are you disappointed as a teacher? Tell us a little bit about that. Are you inspired by the students? Are the students participating, or do you want to see more activity? Are they showing up to time on class? And
do you find them to be fired up about it?
Yeah, like as fired up as you, because I'm watching you on stage. I'm like, this man is. I'm serious. He's getting in people's faces.
I love it.
Put people in the head.
That's what it's about. I've got to believe it. And that's believing.
Then he goes home and he plugs himself back into the wall like one of those. like one of those hybrid cars, and he just like waits. You see the battery charging up, and then he wakes up and he starts again.
Here, I'm going to answer that question by saying some of these students, they say, "Man, you're an animal."
Yes.
So what does that mean? Is that good or is that bad?
That's amazing.
No, Joe. See, this is what Joe does. Joe goes home and he watches video on himself, getting in people's faces, and he's like, "Man, I'm going to do this next time." Because I'm going to tell you, all right, I came in there real quiet. I got to observe what I'm going to get. And he looks at me and he's talking stuff. He's just talking stuff to me. I'm like, man, I never met this guy. And then, then he's trying to steal my wallet.
Right. Like, this guy's a character. He's a character.
He sees my sweaters and things. And he's like, man, let me take his money.
I have to ask you a question because you guys are currently rehearsing a play that was written in the 30s.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that Joe said when I asked him to direct it was that it just closed the revival on Broadway, the hugely successful revival starring James Jones.
By the way, the shows you can't take it with you.
You can't take it with me.
Opens March 20th.
March 20th. Come check it out.
That's what I was leaning towards, Bernie. A little plug there.
Let's go ahead and plug that in.
Please, come check it out. Check it out.
Make sure you're there.
We'll plug that.
Yes.
But what I want Joe and actually you and Joe to say, if you can, it's still topical. You said it's still timely. It's still, and you actually play a character that some people might view as
racist.
Only because you're playing. But in 1938,
that's what was going on.
The African American man and woman were living that way. And Kaufman and Hart, they had to translate that. They had to make it. They're not only told what was going on in real life, but they made it funny.
Yeah, Joe told me about it, and that's what I wanted to bring up is the diversity. Like, are you guys getting diversity there? Like, what more? Because I've seen there was some diversity at Fairview last night,
right?
And I've seen a lot of you guys' posters and pictures. But Joe did tell me, he came up to me and he says, Brian, you're going to be playing a 1930s part. How do you feel? And I'm like, well, Joe, first of all, I come in here with class. I'm going to leave with class. I'm going to put on my belt buckle, and I'm going to get some more people to come in here and play these parts with me. And that's what I thought. And then after that, he whispered in my ear and said, show me the money, because he wanted, he wanted me to. He said, yeah, because that's what Joe's
cool. Brian, I'm going to get you at our next rehearsal.
He says, I have nothing to pay you, but all you gonna leave here is a pat on the back and some love from the community. That's what he told. No, I'm just kidding. But tell us a little bit about that. I mean, are you guys getting a lot of diversity nowadays?
Well, how do you? Yes, we are. But how do you feel about this play?
Yeah. Tell us about that.
Being relevant in 2015.
It absolutely is relevant.
Yes.
But the relevancy comes from what the leading character has to say, and I think you'll agree with this. This, Brian. When he's a nice, gentle 80-year-old man who quit the rat race 35 years ago. He has a speech when he says, 35 years ago, I woke up one morning and I was worried about whether or not I was going to get that contract, and worried about whether I was going to make enough money for this, and I worried about this, and I worried about that, and I decided, the heck with it, I'm not going to the office today. I quit.
Wow.
And then he adds, and I haven't had to take a bicarbonate of soda ever since.
Wow.
And what he meant, of course, was he gave up the rat race and just began to enjoy his life, his family's life, his grandchildren's life, and so forth. So I think maybe that's. How do you feel, Brian? Is that the main message, or is that?
When I first read the script, this is like, I'm gonna be honest. When I first read the script, because I was inspired by the name. I thought it was a very unique name for a play like that. And when I first read the script, I said, wow, this explains the type of person I've always been. And I was like, I want to be, I didn't, Tom Smith, who's actually a director in Youngstown, he directs plays, he actually asked me to be in it first. And I didn't know what I was getting into, but when I had read the script, I was like, wow, this kind of sounds like the type of person I am. And I didn't mind playing the part. Anytime somebody asks me to do something, it's like, wow, I'm honored.
Right.
But I thought it was a decent script. It very, and you can tell. And Tom, to being the person he is, he took away all the aprons and stuff, to make us, because we're African American. He doesn't want us to feel like we're still back. But I was inspired, and every director who directs it seems to feel that script. You know, like Joe, like if you watch this man, the way he wants this play, it's like he knows so much about, and that's what I'm saying. So
what
I'm like,
takes
yeah.
Put me in a room with anybody with passion and you want to try to fix something.
You can get anything
I'll go.
done.
I'll follow
Yes,
you.
you can.
And you do, and you can inspire that kind of. That's why he's the director he is actually too, because we did Cuckoo's Nest together. We've done we did that championship season together. It's not ending.
Now, what I want to say, I just want to interject and say, based off of what you were saying in reference to explaining what the play is about, and what you were saying previously before that, I feel like all the way coming back to the pendulum and why it is very important to keep this cycle and the circle of motion keeping going. I feel that at the end of the day, it is very important that something like this is seen and that the community does see something like a play like this. Because it brings reference back to exactly everything we just said about it being so surface right now. A lot of people have so many passions and desires of things that they want to do, but they're so caught up in this rat race of, oh, I have to pay this bill, and because I have this many children, I have to have this job. And because I do this, I have to be able to pay for that. But if you really stopped to think about it and remove yourself from that cycle and do something that you are passionate about, that you can put 175% towards, guess what? Everything that you need to be taken care of is going to be taken care of, and then some, and you'll have peace of mind.
Right. And 99% of the times, the things that you were worried about being taken care of are taken care of by other people.
Exactly.
They are the people feeling the same way as you are. And so I would rather have, you know, slightly cold pizza in the green room after painting the set all day with these people than, you know, Chateaubriand and Fancy and Lobster with, because I earned enough money to go out and buy myself a lobster. I'd rather spend $100 on 50 pizzas with actors and actresses and technicians.
Now let's talk about this, Joe, because I said I'm inspired by this play. I said I read the script. It's kind of like one of those plays where you can't compare. That's what I like about the script, is you can't compare it to anything because there's so much going on within this family, and it's a comedy. So tell us a little bit. I'll take your take on it, and then I'll give you my take. Tell us a little bit about this play that's coming up. You can't take it with you at the Playhouse.
Okay, well, thematically we already dealt with because it's a message of what should I call it? Smell the flowers, you know, that expression.
Take the time.
So we have here a man, as I just described a little bit ago, living with his daughter and son-in-law, and one of their daughters and her husband, and I could keep going here, but then there are two grandchildren who live in this house together. And there's a gentleman that came in one day to visit, and they say, well, he came in to visit and he liked it here. So he used to be a milkman, but he quit and he lives here with us. He's been here for 7 years, and he's excited about fireworks. And every once in a while there's a fireworks. It's a crazy family.
It is.
People who are mixed up.
I love it.
That appear to be mixed up, but they show you that smelling the flowers is better than having to and being able to live in a huge mansion, in which you only occupy 2 or 3 of the rooms. Now, what are you going to do with the rest of those rooms?
Hey, it's funny because everybody's running around. Now, Mr. Cox, I wanted to get you in this because you're on the board. So how do you, do the directors pick the plays at the Playhouse? How does that work?
No, usually it's both ways, actually.
Okay, so you did pick that script.
Some people come in and say, I have this idea, I'd like to do this. And they have presented different shows to us. Bernie is as the managing director, then we just, like this year, we picked that out, the season. We asked Joe, who's going to be directing Odd Couple.
He asked me to.
So we asked Joe. We see Odd Couple. We say, hey, Joe, what do you think? Were you interested? Because we like to tag a director. That's what's going to lead the show. So no, most of the time the board itself, there's a committee that gets put on to help with the play selections.
Yeah.
But the board pretty much lets the artists do their job. That's what it should be.
Now, the things you sent me over, Bernie, you were talking about the volunteership at the Playhouse. There's a lot of, about 90% of volunteer.
Well, we have three staff members. That's it.
Wow.
It used to be greater back in the day, but financial situations have forced the place to have a much smaller staff.
Yeah.
But that's paid staff.
Right.
But the work, as you see, is getting done. Now, when it's nice. I know that you're going to walk into rehearsal tomorrow night and see a set, because when you left on Thursday,
there was no set.
Well, there was walls were here and there.
Right.
They've been working like gangbusters. So you're going to walk in Monday, Brian, and you're going to go,
wow.
And that's because right now there is one paid staff person there and 3
and
volunteers.
Yeah.
During the day, there's myself and there's volunteers.
Right.
Our board is a volunteer board, and we have many, many board members, Dr. Cox included, is one of them, that puts in more time than he should have, because I don't know how he squeezes the time into his day.
Balance.
To be a doctor, and to be a father, and to be a husband, and to be a friend.
Yes.
And yet he still finds all this time to give the theater.
Yeah.
That's family.
That's
That's why.
It really is.
No,
when you involve your family, then it just makes it a little bit easier.
It's a place to come together, and everybody's goal should be the same when you come into that room.
That's right.
In those doors, there are no separate goals.
No.
No
One
separate
unified
egos. It's
goal.
Our goal
That's
is
amazing. That's
400
amazing.
people want to laugh.
Yes.
400 people want to
Cry.
feel
What I want, what my goal is, I'm greedy, man. I want that show. I want people to. I want every audience member to leave and saying that show could be done on any stage, any place.
Yes.
They're saying the same on Broadway. They're saying the same words we're saying. It's the same script.
Yeah.
It's the same everything. So
Right.
collectively, the intelligence of the actors and the directors. There's no reason that says we can't put on a show. Just financially, you can't have the helicopter.
Right.
But you're going to get the acting. You're going to get the set. You're going to get everything else.
Yes.
It's all the same thing.
Now, how'd you guys get connected with Purple Cat? I see you guys got Purple Cat in there now.
Well, Purple Cat Productions, Jimmy Sutman, who created the Purple Cat Golden String Life Enhancement thing many years ago, it's safe to say that he is a pioneer in what he's doing.
Yeah.
Because he has taken the members of our community who may be physically and mentally in a different place.
Yeah.
But trust me, the 5 of us
are all in a different place
physically and
at all
mentally.
times.
Okay?
Yes.
He's probably the fastest, strongest right here.
Joe?
Yeah.
I agree.
So
I can do that.
there's it was just a really nice fit, because he has found work and places in the community for these people to remind people at large that we're all different.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's 2015.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're going to look and see somebody that doesn't look, smell, sound
you.
like you.
Yeah.
We are blending.
Yes.
We shouldn't shy away from that. We should
enhance that,
because there is a day that where the word race will be. Well, I have to go back 2 generations
to even
think
figure
of
out.
Yeah.
All right. So there was a big thing many years ago that started in the late '80s. It really took hold. This non-traditional casting.
Yes.
And what they meant by that was, we're going to do My Fair Lady, but Eliza Doolittle is going to be African American, or she's going to be Asian, or this person is going to, or we're going to do it like this, or Leah Delaria is going to play a male role.
Right.
That was non-traditional casting. We've gone so far past that. Non-traditional should be
normal.
Dancing in a wheelchair.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
You know, things like that. So,
Agreed.
Last year we did a very special musical called Honk, which is the story of the Ugly Duckling.
Yeah.
Which 200 years later, we're still pointing at people that look different than us and going, "You're ugly. You're different."
Right.
You know what I mean? Hans Christian Andersen wrote that 200 years ago.
And you're talking about a play that was written in the 30s that you're doing now that is still it's a snapshot of culture.
Yes.
And the culture doesn't humans don't change
not at all.
really that much.
Right. People still go and have to depend on assistance because of our financial situation in America and every country.
Yes.
So we invited any type of person on wheels, any type of challenge to be in Honk.
Nice.
Well, that kind of opened the door with Jim Sutman and the Purple Cat Productions. And they do a big show every year.
Okay.
And we have people that come to the theater every day, and they not only work for us,
yes,
clean, paint, anything, they have music class, and they have a dance class, and they have an exercise class.
Right.
And they're learning about the theater. They're not just rehearsing a play.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Joe said, Joe keeps using the word teach.
Yes.
That's why I'm successful, because I lucked into this guy when I was 10 because he taught me.
Yep.
That's why John came into Joe's life when he did.
Yeah.
I mean, we all came into, he seems to be like the
central
focal point.
He's like Yoda.
You know what's
He's Yoda.
That's
I got to tell you, I like this conversation.
hey, this would be funny. It'd be funny though. Is like I told you, I came from a fundamental. I was at a fundamentalist church for about 2 years, and the atmosphere was just the same. It was the same way at that church. And then when I came into the theater life, everybody was just so welcome. It was just like, so it was like, man, this must be meant for me. This must be a mission.
That transition.
Yeah, it was amazing because I thought for some odd reason I thought that people from. Because I've been writing my entire life, but when I got into the entertainment, I came back into it after I had little relationship problems, and I saw people were so welcoming. Well, first they were untrustworthy. They didn't know who they were dealing with. They thought I wasn't going to, produce, but after a while, it's like everybody just started coming and, well, we want to know more. We want to know more. And can you come down and do this? And I'm like, wow, this is just like it is at church. It's no different. And that's the separation that I think, because if you notice, a lot of the church culture have not actually really got along that well with the entertainment world. Right. You notice that?
I think it's because of how they perceive entertainers to behave.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It'll be the moral aspect of some of the.
I think,
right.
Brian, I think that you will see in theaters people who are absolutely ready to accept the other person, regardless of who they are, or what they look like.
That's amazing.
I think you see more of a religious atmosphere. If I'm saying, I don't know if I'm using the right.
Right.
No, I think you're
like church to me.
Right.
Amen.
On a Sunday.
Every day.
He's right. Yeah. Emily Dickinson said one time, the American poetess, that all she had to do was go out in her garden to be in church.
Wow.
Well, that's the kind. I'm not saying that the theater is a church, but
I know what you're saying.
There is respect for each other.
Yes.
And when you can't. What do you want more than respect for the human condition? That's what we're finding. And
John quotes Yoda. He quotes Emily. That's
it's okay. It's good.
I like hanging out with John when I do with kids all the time.
This is
like this fun.
John is just so smooth over there, man.
I said John quotes Yoda. You quote Emily Dickinson.
Well,
I need to quote Beyonce. I need to get her in here. It's all Beyonce all the time.
This is what I'm noticing, Bernie. John is like the smooth. He got the smooth thing going on over here. He's got his hair all juiced up and everything, and he's just sitting back there relaxing, you know. I'm the pediatrician in the room.
I get to hang out on a Sunday with these guys. I know there's wine after this. Too.
Yeah, it's a good time.
You just got invited.
Yeah.
And you're coming too, buddy.
He doesn't even know it yet, but he's coming.
We left my man out of the picture back here.
We got to bring the engineer.
But he's not allowed to talk.
But
he just does his job.
He wasn't supposed to stay for the whole party. That's what's going on.
It is a God-given talent to entertain someone else.
It is.
Whether you are the singer, dancer, or the guy that is up in the booth that pushed the lever so it went from day to night.
Yes.
It's a God-given talent to make somebody else suspend their belief or get them to believe something totally different than what they
Bernie,
really
the expression is suspend their disbelief.
Yes.
Thank you, Emily Dickinson.
I love it.
I had to throw that in. I apologize.
And you know what's funny though? What's funny is sometimes when I used to be in church, and because when you're a writer, your mind goes everywhere. And I would sit up there and not listen to, because my pastor, he loves his job. You can tell, but like I said, I haven't visited in a while because I've been so busy. But he would get up there and he'd be entertaining himself with the Bible.
Like it doesn't even matter what anybody else does.
All alone in the room.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know what? I'm going to do this.
We just did one of Bernie's original shows. I directed at Last Laugh. We just got done a couple weeks ago. And a lot of the things we hung on the set, a lot of the little jokes I put in it, they were for me.
Right.
They were just stuff that I was laughing at. We had little things on the set that I wrote on that nobody would ever see.
Right.
And it was just for us
Personal.
and the people, the actors on stage. It was just our little thing, and it fills in that atmosphere so much.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think that going back to what you were saying before, I think that's what makes it so special, and why, going back to the whole affiliation between church and the theater, I feel like that's what makes it so special, why people are so inviting, because everyone that's there, whether it is the lighting guy, whether it is the music cue guy, whether it's the curtain guy, whether it's the actual talent that's on the stage, we're all there because we're all passionate about whatever it is that we're bringing to the table. And I think it's the same way even within religion, no matter what religion that you're there for, everyone is there for a common purpose, which is, we're all there to be united because we're passionate about why we're there. And I think that's what makes the theater so different, and what makes it more difficult for others to even open up their reality that things can be possible.
You get to tap into you get to tap into sorrow.
You get to
tap
go
into
somewhere.
places you don't get to tap into.
And
I always tell people we're doing a show, I said, they call it a play for a reason.
It's a play.
Go and play. Go
Hello.
play.
Thank you.
Sparks getting juicy over here. She getting deep into the conversation, right? We got, let me give a little tag real quick. Method8inc.com. You can log on to view the show after we get done. I hope they got the files. This is our first show.
Woo-hoo.
So we went all out, man. We went the whole hour. We had no commercials. This was our first show. It was a special show because we got my homies in here, the Youngstown Nights. All my homies. We were at Youngstown Nights. Tomorrow, this is what's gonna happen tomorrow at the Playhouse. I'm gonna come to rehearsal. And me and Joe, we gonna pray for the Youngstown State Penguins to get to the title.
People are welcome to come to auditions and sit down and watch what we do.
Yeah,
Come to rehearsals, man.
Oh, if they come to rehearsals, they'll get entertained just by watching the rehearsal.
The people that are, the actors are like, we have somebody to perform for. Let's see how this goes.
And Joe, when does your show open again?
Shameless
plug.
Ask Bernie.
Yes.
You Can Take It With You opens March 20th and runs 2 weekends at the Youngstown Playhouse, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the following Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Nice.
Starting March 20th. Evening shows are at 7:30 p.m. Sunday shows are at 2:30 p.m. You can always call the Playhouse box office at 330-788-8739 or go to our website and you can buy tickets online.
Yes.
And just because I put my grandson in the show, that doesn't mean we're practicing nepotism.
Wait, your grandson is in the show? No, your grandson.
Funny you should ask.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
Wow. That is crazy. So we got 2 minutes left in the show. Any last comments anybody want to make? Sparks, you want to make any last comment?
My last comment is that I am extremely happy to be here. This is going to be an amazing show.
Yeah.
It couldn't have started off any better within something that I can identify with. It has been lovely meeting the three of you.
Thank you.
And I'm excited for what's coming.
Let me introduce myself again. I am Brian West. I am the founder of Method 8 Corporation, Method 8 Arts Academy. We just have a ball. Sparks has been in a few of our productions.
Yes, I have.
She's been in, we're always inviting. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We had such a good time. I want to thank our guests from the Youngstown Playhouse.
Yes.
The city of Youngstown is on the move and everybody is following. We're going to emerge out of poverty and everybody is going to be wealthy and we're going to sit back on the Youngstown State ball field and
and we're going to do that because you can't take it with you.
No, you cannot. That's
Thank you so much for tuning in out there.
welcome.
Have yourself a wonderful, wonderful week, everybody. We'll be right back next week with the life of a Marine. So have a good week, everybody.
Goodbye.
Listening to News Talk 790 WPIC, Sharon Hermitage, a Cumulus station, sponsored by the Ridgewood at Shenango Valley, a premier senior living residence.
Sunday in Selma, Alabama, U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder speaking at the AME Church in Selma. It says the March for Civil Rights is ongoing.
We will march on until the self-evident truth of equality is made real for every American. We will march on until every citizen is afforded his or her fundamental right to vote.
Crowds have gathered at the Edmund Pettus Bridge today. One marcher says people need to remember the cost of the civil rights movement.
And encouraging them the significance of the vote and how hard it was to get the right to vote.
President Obama says he is also troubled by photo ID requirements for voters, saying some places getting a photo ID can cost up to $150, and that can be a burden for someone who's on a fixed income or not driving anymore and doesn't have a driver's license. I'm Molly Page. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 disappeared exactly 1 year ago, and now there's new information that may help explain why nothing has been found.
The first comprehensive report into the disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, released on this grim anniversary, says the battery of the locator beacon for the plane's data recorder had expired more than a year before the jet vanished. And that news comes as Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott says the hunt for the plane will not end, even if the scouring of the current search area off Australia's west coast finds nothing.
Correspondent Michael Toscano reporting. A dozen donors and recipients are resting comfortably after an unprecedented 6-way kidney swap at a San Francisco hospital. 6 living donors each gave up a kidney Friday to aid 6 recipients ranging in age from 24 to 70. The California Pacific Medical Center says everyone appears to be recovering without any major complications so far. I'm Molly Page.